Welcome everyone to my quick review of the ZMF Atrium closed headphones. These are my own personal pair of headphones that I have purchased with my own money and they were not sent to me for review. Starting off the video with a quick unboxing, these headphones were purchased during ZMF November. For those unaware of what ZMF November is, it's basically an event that they do once a year where they release some discounted headphones, B-stock headphones that maybe have some imperfections in the wood, some rarity models, and also some stabilized models. It's a good opportunity to get the headphones at a discounted cost. Because of that, the case here looks different. So this is their clamshell case that you could purchase separately on the website. However, normally these come with a Pelican style plastic case. I think they call it the Seahorse case. That's what you normally get when you order these headphones. In this case, because these were discounted, they come with the clamshell case. Now, I personally prefer the clamshell case. I think that this makes more sense. They're easier to bring around and they take up less space. I know a lot of people on HeadFi, they have a number of ZMFs and they have a lot of the Pelican cases and they don't really know what to do with them. So this is actually my preferred option. And it would be nice to have the option of this or the Pelican case when you're checking out. What's really exciting about ZMF headphones is that every headphone is unique. So when you're going through the checkout process here, sometimes depending on the time of year, you have some different stock woods available. You could choose the frame material, you could choose the material of the headband and the strap, the included pads, the included cables, etc. So when you're opening the case for the first time, you don't know exactly what your headphones are going to look like because they are all one of one. So even though you may have chose the specific wood that you like, that doesn't mean you know exactly what your headphones are going to look like. Now, the first thing you'll notice when you first take them out of the case, besides how beautiful they look, and I don't think I've ever seen a bad looking ZMF, is just how solid they feel in the hands. All the material choices feel very high end. It feels very well made. I want to talk briefly about the cables too. I just think that the Pro cable should be included with these headphones at this price. The headphones cost $2,500 and the included stock cable that you see here, it's fine. It feels good in the hands. It's a nice material, but it's just not very well made. And I've actually had two of them stop working for me. The OFC cable is also included. And you can see that here. And this feels better made. But for the price of these headphones, I just think that the Pro cable is probably the way to go. It's just okay. This here is the Pro cable. It cost $120 extra, but this feels like a quality cable. I mean, this cable is much nicer than the other two. So like I said, I think for the price that these headphones cost, I think that the Pro cable should just be standard at this point. It's a very nicely made cable. It's braided very nicely. It feels higher quality. This should be the stock cable on these headphones, in my opinion. The included pads on the Atrium closed are the Caldera style pads, which you could see here. And just looking at it, you could see how big the opening is for your ear. They are very roomy pads. They are really comfortable. And I like these much better than some of the older style ZMF pads. Another fun thing about being a ZMF owner is the ability to pad swap. So on their website, there are a ton of pad options. And if you want to take it a step further than that, you could go to the Atrium closed thread on HeadFi, and there's plenty of people there giving their opinions, and you could see which may work best for what you're looking for. Putting the pads back on is pretty easy. I know this can be intimidating to new owners, but you basically just hook it on the edge like this. After it's hooked, you kind of want to hold it in place. And then I usually just take my pointer finger and just roll it around the side of the headphone. And that usually allows me to get the pad on pretty easy. The first time you do it may be a little tricky, but once you do it once or twice, it's super easy to do. It takes maybe 30 seconds. And once it's on, I usually just give it a little twist just to make sure that it's seated properly. And that's it. You're good to go. It's really easy to pad swap. Really fun part about being a ZMF owner. The head strap that I have here is the BBB head strap. I think this is a must-have. I think this should be stock on the headphone. The stock strap is much thinner than this, and it doesn't make as much contact with as much surface area on your head as this strap does. So in my opinion, this strap is a must-have. I think this should be stock. This should be included with every headphone. But if it's not, by the time this video goes up, when you order the headphones, just order this additional. It's well worth it. While on the topic of comfort, I just want to say that the comfort of these headphones are very good. These are heavier headphones because they are made of wood. There's no getting around that. But ZMF really does an exceptional job of making sure that the weight is well distributed. And I think that's really the key here as far as comfort, is everything is just distributed very well. I really don't think that there's anything they could do to improve these any further comfort-wise. Like I said, they do an exceptional job of balancing the weight really nicely. But if you are sensitive to heavy headphones, it's just something to keep in mind. If you're going to be wearing them for hours at a time, even though the weight is distributed so nicely, it's still there, so it's just something to think about if you are particularly sensitive to that. If you're not, I don't think it's an issue. I don't really have an issue with these, but if I'm going to be using them for a long period of time, I usually switch to something like the Abyss Joel, which I could totally forget I have on my head and wear them for hours, where I don't get that same thing with this. Moving on to sound, that's probably what you most came here for, so let's get into it. The drivers are 300 ohm biocellulose drivers, which have a certain sound to them. People call it biocellulose magic, and it sounds funny, but I get it. These drivers have a very specific sound characteristic to them. They sound very natural, very organic sounding. They just have this characteristic to the sound where things just sound extremely lifelike and realistic. Being 300 ohms, they do take a decent amount of power, and if you go reading reviews and what other people say, everybody says that these sound the best out of an OTL tube amplifier. I don't have one on hand to test it with. That may be true. I haven't been able to test it. But I will say that if you're in the market for these headphones, don't feel like you have to go out and buy a really expensive amplifier to use them with. It may scale well with a really expensive and much better amplifier, and it may improve. But if you already have a good amplifier, these will work fine with them. I've been using these with the Valley 3. I've been using these with the Asgard 3 and also the JDS Labs Element 4. It sounds great out of all of those. So if you already own something, it will probably power these fine. The driver is detailed. It's not overly detailed. It's not going to sound like one of those big hi-fi min drivers where you're just being bombarded with detail. But these are very detailed headphones still. I think it tiptoes the line of being just the right amount of detail where it's not too much and annoying. For being a closed back headphone, these sound very wide. ZMF has a patented system they call the Atrium damping system. I'm not going to pretend I know exactly how that works, but if you go on their website, they have some nice information and diagrams that you could do a little research on and learn more about it. But it works great here. They sound really spacious, so don't be afraid for them being a closed back. Vocals also have a beautiful and thick weight to them. Nothing sounds thin, and like I talked about in my written review that I said vocals deserve their own paragraph, I think vocals deserve their own conversation piece here in the video review, because vocals just sound so organic and lifelike that it's really not like any other headphone that I've heard. ZMF does this in a way in their headphones that is just incredible. I still think that the Ortor Classic is the best vocals I've ever heard in a headphone, but these are not far behind. The vocals are slightly recessed in the mix, but not much, and I think that it's a nice balance between hearing the vocals up front without ever getting shouty, while also having all the detail and layering with the rest of the track as well. And we have to talk about the bass on these headphones. The bass hits really hard, it digs deep. With certain songs, you could almost feel like your head is vibrating. If you're a bass head but you still appreciate audiophile level sound quality, I think that these could be an endgame headphone for you. It does roll off after a certain point, so it won't get as deep as something like maybe the HE1000 Stealth, but the bass on these, it is more than satisfying. And what's really interesting about the bass on these headphones is that it sounds so lifelike. I handed these off to my fiance to try out, and she was listening to some music, and she's not an audiophile, she doesn't really get it like we do, but she was listening to them and she just said that the bass sounds so lifelike. And I think that what she was trying to say is that it just has such a natural decay and reverb to the sound. It's not that ultra fast planar magnetic bass that comes on and disappears as soon as the note starts and finishes. It's not that. There's a really natural decay that happens and it sounds great. And I think it really sounds like when you have a very high quality subwoofer in a treated room, it has a similar effect to that. It's fantastic on these headphones. The mid-range on these headphones is typical ZMF. It just has that warm, addictive, lush sound to them. They're a little bit less forward than some of the other ZMF models like the Ortor Classic, but like I said earlier, the vocals on this headphone is just beautiful, it's addictive, it makes you want to just keep listening and listening. As far as the highs go, I think this is also typical to ZMF, where if you've heard other ZMFs, you kind of know what you're getting here. They're nicely extended without being fatiguing. But I do think that there's a peak happening somewhere. I can't pinpoint exactly where it's happening, but if you are very treble sensitive, it's just something to be aware of. I consider myself to be treble sensitive and I don't have a problem with it, but I want to mention it. Just to wrap up the sound, these have a thick and colorful sound with a mostly wide presentation and a deep sub bass that could rattle your head. And they also have nicely extended highs. ZMF also has a best-in-class lifetime warranty on the drivers, so if you have any issue with the drivers, they will be covered under the warranty for the lifetime that you own them, as long as you are the original owner. What you're getting with the Atrium Closed is a beautiful handmade art piece that really feels like it could be passed down for generations. With that also comes a best-in-industry warranty. If you're after a closed back headphone that offers beautiful, natural sounding vocals, deep hard hitting bass, a high level of detail, while still having a generally fun tuning, and an overall highly addictive sound, I think that these are for you.